Welcome to Evolving Into Her. I'm Ashley Hope, and this is your weekly check-in to get out of your head, into your body, and back into alignment with the version of you who's already living the vision. So grab your favorite cup of tea, settle in, and let's get into the show. Hey friend, welcome back to the show. And before we get into it, I just wanted to say that this episode is not going to resonate for everyone. Some of you may listen to this and be like, I don't know, Ash. This does not sound like me. And that is okay. But for the women who really feel this deeply in their bones, in their being, girl, this one's for you. Like, if you know, you know. So we're going to talk about something that doesn't always have a name, something most of us weren't warned about, unfortunately, and not because our mothers and aunties didn't care, but I assume it's because they didn't have the language for what was happening to them. They knew how to push through, child. They knew how to sacrifice. They knew how to show up and hold it down, sometimes without even catching their breath. And we are grateful. But what many of them didn't have was the space. They didn't have the luxury to pause and reflect and to ask themselves, okay, is this life I'm living still a match for who I am? Is this life I'm living still in alignment for me? Is this life I'm living, does it bring me joy? Am I fulfilled? They didn't have the luxury of asking them those questions. And then if they were to sit down and ponder, what were they going to do about it? Right? They didn't have the language. They didn't have the conversations. Therapy wasn't a thing back then. So when this shift hits us, we're often the first in our line to even notice it's happening, let alone give it words, let alone have the conversations, let alone to hold space for the experience. And what I've come to call it is the midlife awakening. And this shift starts showing up somewhere in your mid to late 30s, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. For many women, it's late 30s to early 40s. And it's subtle at first. You don't even realize it's happening. Sometimes it sneaks up on you. And it's because nothing dramatic has changed. You're still handling your life. You're still doing a damn thing. You're still showing up. You're still doing all the things. But something about the way you feel in your life starts to get fuzzy. You start to feel off. And then one day you just can't ignore it anymore. And it's not necessarily a crisis, at least not in the traditional sense. Like you're not falling apart, you're not failing, you're not confused, but you are waking up. And that awakening, that slow unlayering, girl, it is powerful. You start looking around at the life you've built, the roles you've held, the routines you've stuck with out of habit, the ways you've moved for years, these relationships that you entertain and stay in. And all of a sudden, it doesn't feel like you anymore. It doesn't feel like it's in alignment anymore. It doesn't feel good to you anymore. So you start moving different. You start thinking different. You start feeling more sensitive to things that never used to bother you. And it all starts to feel like too much, right? Like the noise, the pressure, the performance, the mass. You can't fake your way through it the way you used to. Your body just won't let you do it. And it's wild because this awakening doesn't come with a clear title or a set of instructions. Like, how beautiful would it be to get a set of instructions? Like, girl, around this time in your life, you may go through XYZ. You may feel like XYZ. And if so, you can do XYZ to feel XYZ. Now, I will say you do kind of get a set of instructions with astrology, but I'm not going to go there. But this season doesn't show up with an announcement. For a lot of people, it kind of slides in quietly like a thief in the night. Okay, it's sneaky like that. And it just shows up in the way you feel exhausted and depleted, drained after having conversations that used to feel energizing, that used to bring you joy. And that's sad too. There's grief in that as well. It shows up quietly in the way you have to talk yourself into doing things that used to feel automatic, that used to be second nature for you. Now you're struggling. It shows in how deeply you crave silence and stillness. and solitude. Even when you're not sure what to do with it, you just like to isolate and be alone. You just know it's the right thing. It feels good for you, and you're not even sure why you're there and when you're supposed to come out of isolation. You just know, I need to be by myself. And when you're in it, it's easy to think you're the only one. It's because people aren't having conversations about it. And then there's shame tied to it. And there's fear of judgment. And you feel some guilt because you're like, okay, I prayed for this. And other people would be elated to have some of these things. And here I am saying, oh, this doesn't fit for me anymore, or this doesn't bring me joy or bring me fulfillment. It doesn't feel like it's in alignment. And my folks may look at me like I'm crazy, you know? And because everybody else is still moving so fast. They're still chasing the bag. They're still trying to level up in their careers. They're raising kids. They've got so much going on. They're performing. They're still chasing. They're still putting the pieces of their lives together. They're still trying to figure it out, like most of us are. It's like here you are sitting in the middle of your life wondering, why doesn't any of this feel like mine anymore? Why doesn't any of this feel like me anymore? And that's what I mean when I say midlife awakening. It's really that space between who you've been and who you've become. It's the sacred in between. It's where you're not trying to blow everything up like I did. Check out the last episode because, baby, I lit a match to my life, burnt everything down just to start over. Okay. Like I wasn't playing, but you don't have to do that. Okay. So you don't have to blow everything up, but you do want to feel something real again. And the version of you who could push through anything, who was strong, who could take on everything, who was resilient, who could keep it all together. Girl, she's tired. She's exhausted. She is drained. She is depleted. And she is begging for something else. She is pleading for something else, for you to move a different way. And not because she failed or she took any missteps, but because she's moved past where you're at. She's evolved and you're still stuck in old relationships, old experiences, old prayers, old paradigms, old programming. She is ready to move on. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, "Ooh, girl, like this hits." I feel like you're reading my diary. Are you in my business? Okay? I feel like I'm experiencing a midlife awakening. What do I do? Right? And what are some real life signs that I'm in it? What does this look like? So, some of the signs, you're tired, and not just tired from work or lack of sleep. It's nothing that a good night's sleep can fix. It's like, baby, you go to sleep tired and you wake up tired. Okay? Your soul is tired. The kind of tired that just doesn't go away when you pop a melatonin or magnesium and you're in bed by 9 and you wake up and you feel drained. It's a depletion. Another sign is that you feel overstimulated more often, right? Like sounds, energies, conversation, everything just feels loud and draining and heavier. Another sign is that you start pulling back from people or spaces you once enjoyed. Not because there was any drama, not because anything crazy was happening, not because they're bad people. It's because you're craving more depth and more peace and more stillness and more joy and more alignment. Another sign is that you no longer care about being seen a certain way. You just want to feel good. You want your life to feel good. You want to feel good in your body, in your home, in your career, in your relationships, in your life. So you're no longer chasing the aesthetic. You really want to make sure that you are really living good, living well. And another sign is that you're grieving things that you used to want, right? Like for a lot of you, those dreams you had no longer fit. They no longer resonate. You're grieving the people you used to perform for. You're grieving versions of you that just don't exist anymore. It's like that movie, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. And Helen was sitting across the table looking at Charles in that wheelchair. And he was looking for his wife, Christina. And she was like, Christina's gone. Okay. That is what this midlife awakening is saying to you. Like, girl, she is gone. She doesn't exist anymore. We need you to give the program, okay? We need your life to evolve as well. We've evolved. And I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, right? Even if your life still looks good, sis, you're allowed to admit that it doesn't feel good anymore. I'm going to repeat that so it can resonate as truth for you, so it can resonate in your spirit. Even if your life still looks good, you are allowed to admit that it doesn't feel good anymore. And that doesn't mean you're ungrateful. That means you are being honest with yourself. You're the one who has to live your life. You're the one who has to walk in your shoes. And I want to pause this right here and say very plainly, you are not the only one going through this. There are so many of us in this stretch of life, in this season of life, who are waking up to the truth of who we really are. And we're realizing that we built beautiful lives that aren't fully rooted in our truth anymore. And it doesn't mean you messed up. It doesn't mean you made the wrong choices. It just means you're changing, you're shifting, you're expanding, you're stretching, you're evolving. And like I said before, now your life needs to evolve too. It needs to fall in line. You might feel like you're losing motivation. You might feel like you're withdrawing. You might feel like you're in a fog. And it's uncomfortable. It's tender. But know that it's also sacred. And so, what do you do when you're in this space? Girl, you slow down and you stop trying to force clarity when what you really need is space to just be. So you don't need all the answers. You don't have to know what the 1 year plan is, 2 year plan, 5 year, 10 year plan is. You don't need to have all the answers. So surrender, release, practice non-attachment, whatever verbiage you use, allow yourself to be. And then you start creating little pockets of honesty in your day. So this might look like stepping back from things that drain you, even if you don't have a backup plan. This might look like not answering every phone call or text the minute it comes in. This might look like giving yourself permission to say, I am still figuring some things out, and letting that be enough. Letting yourself just be and be okay with not having all of the answers. Sitting with the uncertainty, sitting with the stillness, right? And just letting yourself be and give yourself space and time to receive clarity in due time, in divine timing. And you start paying attention to what feels good in your body, and not just in your body, but your soul. What feels good on a soul level, and not what just sounds good in theory, what sounds good to your friends, to your mama, to your daddy, to your grandmother, to society, what looks good on social media, what feels good to your ego, like what really feels good in your soul. And does this decision feel calming or constricting? Do I feel expansive in this space, or like I'm bracing myself the whole time? Because, girl, your body will tell you the truth. Your body knows. So I need you to get out of your head into your body, and you start redefining what success looks like for you now, what fulfillment looks like to you, what joy looks like for you. And not from a version of you from 5 years ago, not the version of you from last year, not even last month, child, but right now, in this moment, with who you've become. And then you start moving in small steps, and you trust the shifts, even if you can't explain them yet. You honor your energy, you honor your needs, and you let your life reconfigure itself around who you are now, instead of forcing yourself to keep up with a version of you that no longer exists. She's gone. Christina's gone. And that's the real work of this season. Not the performance, not the reinvention. It's the honesty, it's the softness, it's the surrender, it's the release, it's the non-attachment, it's the willingness to come home to yourself in real time. So before we close out, I just want to say this, especially if you're in that weird stretch of life where nothing's really wrong, but something feels different, because that midlife awakening is real. And it doesn't always come with big changes or clear answers. I'm going to be honest, sometimes it just feels like being over it. Like you're tired of the same conversations, you're tired of the same patterns, you're tired of the same expectations, and you might not even have the words for it yet, but deep down, you know something is shifting. And while it can feel uncomfortable, it's not a bad thing, right? It's actually the start of something really honest. And you're just waking up to who you really are and what no longer works for you. And yeah, it can feel awkward. It can feel quiet. It can sometimes feel isolating, but it could also be the most freeing thing you've ever stepped into, the most beautiful season you've ever stepped into. And this might be the first time you've really asked yourself, what do I want now? What actually feels good to me now? And that is the beginning of becoming. You don't have to rush through this process. You don't need a plan. You're allowed to figure it out as you go. And this part right here, even if it's a little messy, it's still you evolving. And that's beautiful. And now I want to move into a moment for her. So if you're in a space where it's safe to pause, we're going to bring you out of your head and into your body. And place one hand over your heart and the other over your belly or your womb space. And gently close your eyes or just soften your gaze. And let your breath slow down. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders soften. Release any tension. And just allow yourself to be. Let this moment be enough. You don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to move quickly. You just have to keep telling yourself the truth. And I invite you to repeat this to yourself if it feels true for you. I am allowed to change. I trust what I feel even when I can't explain it. I am not alone in this. I welcome my midlife awakening. I release the need to prove, push, or perform. I am in motion, and that motion is sacred. And let those words settle in your body, in your being, in your subconscious mind, in your heart space, in your womb space, in your aura. Allow it to resonate as truth. Let it wrap around the parts of you that feel wobbly, that feel tender, that feel unsure, that may feel behind. You're in your awakening, and it's okay if it feels messy. It's okay if it feels like everything is shifting beneath your feet. But that just means you're finally standing in your truth. And the version of you who's honest, who's grounded, who's fully embodied, she's on her way, friend. And you don't have to rush to meet her. You just need to stay close to yourself. You're evolving into her, and you're right on time.